Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com, on Roku, Dwyer Boxing and Sports News. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, depending on when you watch this video, it might be dated. I'm making the video on July 26, 2015. Understand, preseason hasn't started yet. Let's talk NFL football. I'm just charting out games, looking at betting opportunities. Now, first, if you have a pen, you want to write down the scheduling, right? The AFC North this year, in addition to their regular schedule, plays the NFC West, right? The AFC East plays the NFC East. The AFC South plays the NFC South. The AFC West plays the NFC North. Now, let me point out that a team on my radar right now to possibly do some bad things are the San Francisco 49ers. I know that the over-under on them has dropped to 7.5 games. Think about it. They're going to be going up against the defending champion New England Patriots, right, outside of their division, which is tough enough. Then they're going to be dealing with excellent defenses. The Jets secondary now has Darrelle Revis, right? That's a great secondary. And, of course, you have Buffalo, who defensively last year was one of the elite teams. You're telling me that this Niner team, with a new head coach and with a quarterback who hasn't convinced me yet that he can read defenses, is going to somehow make its way to 7.5 wins. Well, let's just say I have my doubts, right? Keep in mind, the 49ers already have to play 2 games against the Arizona Cardinals and 2 games against the Seattle Seahawks, who won the NFC last year, right? This schedule is brutal. I think the Niners, who have dropped down, according to Vegas, to a likely below 500 team, may well be an underplay even at the 7.5, even though the value has already drained out of the play because you could have gotten them at a higher under number earlier. Let me also talk about a team that intrigues me, all right, a team with possible upside. You know, Baltimore lost in the playoffs last year to the New England Patriots. Now, we don't know the full extent of the Patriot cheating, right? That's what it was. They're fooling around with inflation of the footballs. Don't be confused by whether or not Tom Brady knew about it. The bottom line is we know it was going on, and we know that Patriot people were involved. The team accepted the fine from the NFL. Well, let's look closely at Baltimore. You know, Baltimore starts the season with 2 games on the road. Did you know that of the first 7 games they play, 5 games are on the road? Think about it, right? That means after week 7, Baltimore only has to play 3 more road games. Now, let me just say this too. You know, Baltimore opens against Denver on the road, and then they play the Oakland Raiders on the road. I think Oakland is a winnable game. Baltimore, of their tough games, week 14, they actually play the Seattle Seahawks, but they get them at home. Keep in mind, the AFC North plays the NFC West. And, of course, they're getting Seattle 1 week after Seattle plays on national television against the Minnesota Vikings, right? Think about this too. Seattle's going to be on the road against the Vikings. Then they're going to have to play the Baltimore Ravens on the road, right? The Ravens not only get them at home, but they get Seattle in Seattle's 2nd consecutive road game. See, Baltimore, in fact, plays 3 of their last 4 at home. Now, if you're looking for a provocative over-under play, right, where you'll have hedging opportunities, then I want you to consider the Baltimore Ravens over the 9 wins. Folks, keep in mind, they made the playoffs last year. They lost to the eventual champions. If you look at Baltimore's team, you're going to find that last year they had a good year offensively. They had a good year defensively. They had a good year on special teams. In my opinion, they have one of the best coaches in the National Football League in John Harbaugh. He's a guy who, of course, has already won a Super Bowl ring. Right? So, given that the first 7 weeks have 5 road games for the Baltimore Ravens, this is the kind of play I like. Because let's say Baltimore finishes those first 7 weeks with an above 500 record, 4-3 for example. To the casual fan, that won't look like a lot. That'll look like a team that's 1 game above 500. But to hardcore gamblers, you're going to be looking at that and you're going to say, whoa, wait a moment. They're 4-3. They already have a winning record, with the majority of their road games behind them. You aren't even at week 8 yet. Let me point out, too, let's say Baltimore comes out the gate fast and beats Peyton Manning. Right? Understand, Peyton looked terrible in the playoffs last year. Understand, Peyton Manning has a new head coach this year. Right? There isn't the continuity in Denver one would expect. Right? That week 1 game is huge, because if Baltimore comes out and beats Denver week 1, then they have a very winnable game week 2, right? Because the Raiders, let's face it, they're still rebuilding. Derek Carr will still be a young quarterback, right? It's possible that 2 weeks into the season, the Baltimore Ravens could have already won 2 of their 8 road games and still have all 8 home games left. Let me point out, too, I know that they're playing the NFC West. You know what? This isn't last year. How good really are the San Francisco 49ers? You know, that Ram team is still young, aren't they? Right? My point to you is I'm expecting Baltimore to go at least 2-2 in playing the NFC West. At least 2-2. Now, I'll agree. Their division, the AFC North, is tough. There's no question about it, right? You got the Steelers. You got Cincinnati. You have Cleveland. I would make the argument that the Steelers, a team I also find intriguing, had defensive issues last year. In fact, there's uncertainty with the Steelers now on defense, right? Because they've changed their defensive coordinator, right? And, of course, the Steelers are facing a multi-game suspension of Le'Veon Bell, right? I would argue that Cincinnati has had problems in big games, haven't they? I think the Boo Birds are starting to be more vocal about the Bengals, right? And, of course, with Cleveland, you're going to have an unsettled quarterback situation there, right? We're hearing Johnny Manziel has been training with John Gruden. Okay, good for him. Manziel didn't set the world on fire last year. Manziel's not even the starter. They have McCown now as the starter. Let's just say Cleveland offensively has questions. So in my opinion, Baltimore has an excellent chance of getting over the 9 wins, right? I believe the 9-win total is conservative based on people's past expectations of an NFC West that had Jim Harbaugh coaching the 49ers, right? And I also think people are assuming that the Steelers are magically going to solve the Le'Veon Bell suspension problem, right? And that the Bengals are going to still be the Bengals this coming year, right? And that Cleveland is somehow going to click offensively. Keep in mind, too, there are reports out of Cleveland that the GM and the head coach aren't exactly on the same page. That's exactly the kind of relationship, as the people in San Francisco found out, that can hurt a team, right? So, in my opinion, you want to fade the Niners. In my opinion, you want to take a hard look at the Baltimore Ravens. I think this team is a team on the rise. Understand, Flacco is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's already proven that. I believe that the Ravens are deeper than people think. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Let me just add, too, just another comment in terms of teams in the mix. The AFC East plays the NFC East. Right? The Dallas Cowboys right now are 9.5 over-under. Isn't that a little bit rich for a team that's going to be playing against the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, who a lot of gamblers are hot and bothered over, the Buffalo Bill defense, right? Rex Ryan, pretty good head coach, right? The Jet defense, Cromartie, Darrelle Revis, right? Think about it. We keep hearing about the Cowboy offensive line. Are you confident in the Cowboy running backs this year? Right? I think you want to look at the scheduling. The point of this video is simply that the Baltimore Ravens have an intriguing schedule that might allow them to finish strongly. Right? If they are looking good at the 7-week mark, then this is a team you want to jump even further on. My point to you is the 9-win over-under right now. You want to grab that. If disaster strikes and they have 5 losses at the 7-week mark, then you can fade the play at that point. Keep in mind, futures markets stay open even after the beginning of the season. Right? One of the reasons why gamblers like futures markets is because you can hedge as the season progresses, especially if you know the schedule. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Let's make this two-way, right? Leave comments in the comment section here for other gamblers, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, so we can all work toward getting an edge on the casino. Thanks for stopping by.